Welcome back to the SA Diplomat. I'm Abdulazeez Henslow. Today we have a special treat all the way from our hometown in South Africa, Cape Town. We're chatting to Abdulazeez Davids of Kagiso Asset Management. Now, the reason why we're firstly speaking to them is because they hold a very special relationship with SA Diplomat abroad at the moment. And the big news coming this week is about Kagiso and the relationship between SA Diplomat abroad and Kagiso Asset Management. This is the SA Diplomat abroad. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and pound the notification bell. We chat to Abdulazeez Davids of Kagiso Asset Management. Assalamu alaikum, Abdulazeez Davids from Kagiso Asset Management. Welcome to the SA Diplomat abroad.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Shukran for the opportunity.
You know, we share a relationship, we share a history. Basically, I used to work for your company, and yes. One of the most enjoyable times in the industry when I was in finance at that time. We're very pleased to have you on board and to have this interview with you. It's amazing. Modern technology can allow me to sit in Doha today and to chat to you sitting in Cape Town in South Africa. Abdulazeez, basically the interview today is, firstly, we have some big news between the two companies. And then secondly, I'm going to pick your brain because you are a person of finance. And there's a lot happening in South Africa at the moment. I think over the last 8 months, there's been a lot happening in South Africa. And 2020 has been a very challenging year. So I would want to basically chat to you about the issues that South Africans are facing currently in South Africa, as well as what the future looks like, and basically opportunities going forward for South Africans living and working abroad. Firstly, Abdulazeez, for our viewers' sake, can you give us a little bit of an introduction to Kagiso Asset Management?
Okay, Kagiso Asset Management was started in 2001. So I think next year we'll be celebrating 20 years of existence. And, you know, we're an independent, smaller asset manager. But all the funds that you would find at the larger institutions like the Allan Grays or Coronations, you'll find at Kagiso as well. So we manage equity funds, balanced funds, global funds as well. And, you know, it's been a good journey over the last almost 20 years. We currently manage about 35 billion Rand of South African assets. Included in that is about almost 3 billion of Sharia assets as well. And our Sharia business was started in 2009. So that business has grown from 0 assets over the space of about 11 years to that almost 3 billion, as I've mentioned. And if you look at our product suite, our longest and our flagship fund is the Kagiso Equity Alpha Fund. That fund has been going since 2004. It's got a 16-year track record. It's the second best performing fund over 16 years. And it's delivered over 16% per year over 16 years as well. So quite a commendable feat. And that's over various market cycles, as you know. And then we've got also, as I've mentioned, our Islamic equity fund. That fund has also got about 11 years of track record. It is the best performing Sharia fund over that period, over the last 11 years. And then to complete the picture, we've got balanced funds, both on the Sharia space and the conventional side. We've got a high yield fund for Sharia income investors, and then also conventional income funds or bond funds. And then lastly, completing the picture, we've got global funds as well, both UCITS dollar-based funds in Ireland, and then Rand feeder fund to cater for South African investors as well. So in a nutshell, you know, it's been a good business for the last 20 years. We're growing quite nicely. And despite COVID and the effects of COVID this year, the business has actually continued to grow in 2020 as well.
Now, that's a mouthful. I mean, since last time we spoke, I can see there's been a tremendous amount of growth in Kagiso as far as your fund selection is concerned and your bouquet that you offer. But besides that, I think you're being a bit modest as well. This year, I know, has been a good year for Kagiso. And I follow your company basically on most social media platforms, and we watch the news from South Africa. And Kagiso has made the news many times this year. And I think the modesty, I think maybe you should just leave the modesty aside and just let us know exactly what Kagiso has done this year as far as achievements are concerned.
Yeah, I think, a lot of the achievements was really on the back of hard work for the last 3 years. And now the Rating Bull Awards as well. And it's quite unusual that most of our funds were nominated across all of the sectors, both equity and balance funds as well. And then now also the Islamic fund was also nominated. Unfortunately, that fund came second. There's no award for coming second, unfortunately. But as you rightly say, I mean, the last 3 years in particular has been quite phenomenal. We've had very strong performance, and we were awarded with quite a few awards earlier this year. And yeah, subsequently, I mean, given the market recovery that we've seen, that performance track record has been sustained into 2020 as well.
Okay, now from Kagiso's perspective, Abdulazeez, you from the time you started to where you are today, you in the Sharia space, you were a new player. Kagiso is not a new company,
Yes.
but you've taken the market head on, and I mean to take a second place position. Although there's no award for it, the Islamic Equity Fund, I mean that's a huge achievement as it is. Now, Abdulazeez, I mean, the year that we're sitting in 2020, is an extraordinary year. We've obviously seen across the world, and I mean, no matter the wealthiest countries on earth, I mean, we live in Doha, the wealthiest country on earth per capita, but we've felt the pinch on this side as far as the economy is concerned, as far as incomes are concerned, as far as many things are concerned. Surely in South Africa, that pinch must have been felt as well over the last 8 months. And in your opinion, where is the economy currently, and what are we looking at in the future as far as South Africa?
Yeah, very good question, because there's actually a divergence between what the stock market and the various asset classes have done and what the general economy has done. And this is a global phenomenon that we've seen globally as well, most notably in places like Europe in particular. And that's the fact that smaller businesses have really been hard hit by the pandemic and also by the lockdowns that ensued as a result of that as well. In contrast, the larger companies, especially the listed companies, have continued to flourish and have actually taken market share from the smaller companies. So in many economies, we're seeing that stock markets transcend the domestic economy. Domestic economies globally have contracted, be it Q1 for China, Q2 and Q3 for the rest of the world. We've seen significant contraction coming through across the world. And really the recovery that we've seen has been a function of the amount of stimulus that the various governments have administered to the economies as well. And as we know, South Africa, we're a poor cousin to the rest of the developed world. We don't have the firepower to really stimulate our economy significantly. So what we have seen is a much more muted stimulus response from the government. And as a result, our view is that the South African economy will lag in the recovery. If you look at the Q3 GDP numbers that were printed, it showed quite a decent recovery from the very low Q2 number. But overall, we still expect a significant contraction for 2020 as a whole. And we're looking at anywhere between 5 to 7% contraction for this current year. Now, that means that many people will, as you've rightly said, feel the pinch. Many people's incomes are under pressure. Those that are still lucky to have an income, we have seen many sectors decimated, the tourism sector, the hotel and leisure sector. All of those sectors are still very much under significant pressure. And, by all accounts, that's anywhere between 50 to 20% of our economy as well. So, yeah, I think it's been an interesting year, but also a very tough year for many of our clients and for many people in South Africa as well.
Now, I mean, we work very closely with the South African embassy here in Doha and embassies in the Gulf. And the one thing that Ambassador Faisal Musa, the ambassador to Qatar, has said to us, he said to us that South Africa's numbers are the highest as far as infection rates are concerned. South Africa's numbers are the highest in Africa. So we went on a tangent that we went to go and do our own type of research to find out why is that. So we looked at it. We compared South Africa to a country like Nigeria, and we found that Nigeria's population is 4 times the population of South Africa. Yet they've done less testing, and therefore their numbers are lower. So the question I have to you, and I mean, I know that you guys, as research analysts and people that look at the economy all the time in the market, you know more background than most of them. So when looking at a country like Nigeria, is it safe to say that South Africa is regarded the most riskiest country in Africa at the moment because of the proaction of the government to test as much as they've done over the last year and to identify more cases in South Africa? Now, I know this is more of a medical question and a geography and finance question, but I somehow know that you guys are here to the ground as well as far as that.
Yeah, so very good question, and we've done some work on that, and as you rightly say, caseloads is typically a function of testing as well, and even in South Africa, I mean the numbers that I've seen, and the key indicator, which is a bit of a morbid one, is basically the number of excess deaths that we've seen, and in the South African context, the last number that I saw was about 24,000 excess deaths. So our current official number is around 22 or 23,000 official COVID deaths, but it could be as high as almost 50,000 in terms of the numbers. Having said that, I think our government's response in terms of the social messaging around social distancing, wearing of masks, making it mandatory, and also the initial lockdowns were the appropriate responses. And the ongoing, and last night the president spoke again, and you know the targeted hotspot strategy I think is also the appropriate one, because we need to balance, you know, curbing the virus and curbing infection rates with keeping the economy open as well. So unfortunately, comparing us to a place like Nigeria, where I think South Africa probably, if I had to be modest, say we've got some of the better infrastructures in Africa. So I think just the scale of primary healthcare, the ability to conduct tests, the ability to have access to adequate medicines, etc., is probably a lot higher than in places like Nigeria. So I would think that Africa and Nigeria, there's probably significant underreporting as well. So I don't think it's a fair comparison to compare our infection rates to the rest of Africa, given just the scale of testing that we've done as well.
Now, I mean, Abdulazeez, we all sat and we listened very attentively last night to the president speak the current situation in South Africa. There's obviously, he's made some changes to the restrictions and imposed further restrictions in South Africa. Obviously, when something like that happens, when the president stands up and he speaks, this obviously affects the market to somewhat. Is it safe to say that the markets are confident in our government at the moment in South Africa, and it's coming through in the performances that we currently see on the stock market? And is there end in sight in South Africa at this stage? I know the president spoke about 10% of the population maybe getting the vaccine by mid-year next year. But is there end in sight, and how are portfolio managers positioning their portfolios at the moment to protect the downturn of this country?
No, very important question, and you're absolutely right. I think, you know, given that we came out of a very hard lockdown in that March to June period, I think it's unlikely that we'll go back to that sort of market levels. As a reminder, the market went down about 35% in March, and since then we've seen quite a decent recovery as well. So there are two elements. Firstly, there's the economic impact, and then there's what we call the sentiment or market confidence impact as well. So the first thing that got hit was obviously market sentiment and confidence in March. And since then, we've just seen a continued improvement in sentiment and confidence. And that's why the market has continued to recover. In contrast, the economy took the hit only in Q2 and Q3 and will only gradually recover from there. So there is this disconnect between what the market has done and what the economy is doing. And as you rightly say, for me as a portfolio manager, my key job is to make sure that I don't lose money for my clients, but also to make sure that we don't miss out on opportunities to grow the wealth of our clients as well. And, you know, balancing those two elements, we've identified sectors that we believe will continue to grow, and then other sectors where we think that maybe the market has run ahead of itself. In particular, those domestic sectors, like some of the retailers, for example, they went down about 50% in March, and subsequently they've gained about 50% from the lows as well. So on a selected basis, we've reduced exposure to some of those retailers and the pure domestic focused stocks. In contrast, those companies, most notably the resources counters, where they are exposed to China's stimulus and the global response, they should continue to do well into 2021 and 2022 as their earnings recover as well. And that's where we find a lot of value. Just to give you some example, in March, we could buy a company like Anglo Platinum at about 700 Rand a share. Today, Anglo Platinum's share price is 1,300 Rand a share. It's almost doubled from the March lows. Similarly, a company like Northam was trading at about 70 Rand in March. It's now sitting at almost 200 Rand. So those companies have really, and you know, the job of a portfolio manager is not to run for the hills when times are tough, but to actually look for opportunity amidst the volatility. And alhamdulillah, we've positioned the portfolios very well in March. We've had a very strong recovery, and we see further recovery as these companies that have lagged continue to produce much better earnings compared to the rest of the market as well.
Now, you know, the one thing I learned from you when I was working with you, Abdulazeez, is to look for opportunities in every situation. And I mean, you know, our initial response to any crisis is panic, and we think we're emotionally, instead of calculating your decisions taken forward. But the one thing that being in the finance industry and learning from people like yourself is that there's opportunity in every disaster. No matter how big the disaster is, there's always opportunity as well.
Yes.
It might be an opportunistic way of saying it, but I mean, at the end of the day, there is opportunity in every scenario. And in the same year. Now, Abdulazeez, where we're sitting at the moment is our audience that we speak to is an expatriate audience, South African expatriate audience, living and working abroad. So here in Doha, we speak to about 6,500 families. In the UAE, we speak to close to 60,000 people at the moment. In Saudi, we speak to quite a bit as well. So we're looking at a total of about 250 to 300,000 South Africans living and working abroad as families. As you know, the earnings potential in this region, in the Gulf, is far higher than what we used to in South Africa. So I'll give you a perfect example. If a doctor works in South Africa, he's going to earn about 40 to 50,000 Rand in state service. If that same doctor comes and works in Doha, he will earn very easily between 50 to 80,000 Riyal per month. 80,000 Riyal equates to about 320,000 Rand per month. It'll be earning it. And a lot of that money gets sent back home to South Africa. So one of the main reasons why we were looking to partner with Kagiso specifically is because there is a hole at the moment that's not being filled as far as working abroad is concerned. And that is our money is being sent home, it's been lying in banks in South Africa, and it's not being invested proactively. So Kagiso can obviously help in this regard. I mean, money erodes over time because of inflation, but if you do place it into an investment vehicle, obviously you could see some returns on top of it.
Yes. No, definitely. I mean, just to give you an example, you know, in our Sharia funds, we've got some exposure to the sukuks offered by the Islamic banks. In March, many of them were offering about 10% on 1 year sukuks. just given the volatility that we've seen and the risk sort of sentiment. Today, those same sukuks, 1-year sukuks, are yielding below 5 to 6%. And alhamdulillah, what we've done, and we've got an income fund as well. And that income fund has done almost 9% over the last year. And it's giving you a yield that are much better than what the bank sukuks are offering, just given the makeup and the composition of that fund. And so we cater from the grannies and the widowers to the young doctors, as you've mentioned, in terms of the full risk spectrum of potential clients. And yeah, as we've mentioned, I mean, our Islamic equity fund has done about 11% per year over the last over 11 years as well. So definitely, I think we've got a product that will suit any of the expats' requirements, be it from the widowers and the elderly that are looking for income to the more young and adventurous that are looking to maximize their growth opportunity set as well.
So the one thing that we have to remember is that South Africans in this region are very respected. When we come to this region, we don't come to this region as general workers. It's mostly professionals that you'd find in the region. So if you go to any one of the embassies, their database is full with professionals from South Africa working abroad. And it's mostly all young to middle age. There's no old people on this side. We have to leave when we reach the age of 60, unfortunately.
Yes,
but,
yes.
Yeah, so those types of opportunities, I think, you know, and that's why we are so pleased to be partnering with you at the moment as a sponsor to SA Diplomat Abroad. And from our side, we'd like to say thank you for assisting us, not only assisting us, but supporting us. Because I feel that this is the voice of South Africans living and working abroad. And this is basically a new stream of everything what's happening back home in South Africa. So we are a patriotic bunch. We support South Africa. We send our money back home to South Africa. And I think that Cafriso can be that vehicle that could assist the community going forward. So I hope that you guys are pleased as well with the relationship that we've built now between Kagiso and SA Diplomat Abroad.
No, I think it's a great honor to be working again with you. We've had a very good relationship over the last number of years. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's a new chapter for us, a new foray into the wide world of the borders outside of South Africa. Yeah. And with you to guide us and to help us along the way, I think we can only go from strength to strength. So thank you to you as well.
No, thank you very much, Abdulazeez, and thank you again for taking the time out to chat to us this morning. Hopefully this is going to be an ongoing thing. So I hope you don't mind. We're going to be calling on you for any economic events or whatever happens in South Africa for your commentary. We have a sector on our channel for finance, and hopefully we can pick your brain as far as the financial section is concerned. Thank you very much once again. Please do send our regards to the entire team of Kagiso Asset Management. And hopefully soon we get to see you here in Doha as a visitor, or maybe even more. We never know.
I certainly look forward to that. But thank you very much, and we look forward to the relationship as well.
Inshallah. Shukran very much.
Shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
This is the SA Diplomat Abroad, and we've been speaking to Abdulazeez Davids of Kagiso Asset Management. You've heard it. There are opportunities still available in South Africa, and as an expatriate living in South Africa, or living abroad at least, there are vehicles available for us to start saving and building on our wealth back home in South Africa. South Africa will obviously be a place that we will return to one day once that age reaches the kick-out time here in the Middle East. So to protect your future, companies like Kagiso, and specifically companies like Kagiso and Abdulazeez and his team, are very capable and able of managing your wealth for the future. This is the SA Diplomat Abroad. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and pound the notification bell. Until next time, goodbye.